Under my tutelage, you will grow from boys into men, from men into gladiators, and from gladiators into Swansons. Behold, the Swanson Pyramid of Greatness.
Super Flag Bros.
Super.
Division 6 Podcast.
It's a perfectly calibrated recipe for maximum personal achievement. Categories include capitalism, God's way of determining who is smart and who is poor.
These Delaries.
Crying, acceptable at funerals and the Grand Canyon. Rage, poise, property rights, fish, for sport only, not for meat. Fish meat is practically a vegetable.
And Peas Delaries.
Haircuts. There are 3 acceptable haircuts. High and tight, crew cut, buzz cut. Are the scissors broken in your house, son?
It's okay.
Welcome everyone. This is Peas Delaries. I'm joined by These Delaries. We are the Super Flag Bros, and for that reason, that is the name of our podcast.
Wait. You're overpronouncing all of your F's. Is there a reason for this?
I am totally sick, and I want to not sound as nasal as possible.
Impossible.
So I'm straight up using my throat voice.
No.
I will have no voice by the end of the night. It should be... There we go. This episode is brought to you by Kleenex, the only brand of facial tissue. The technical director, the man supplying me with the Kleenex, is the Eagle Eye Master Control. I don't want to know why he has Kleenex with him because it's for a very nefarious reason, I would imagine.
It's because I'm also sick.
Yeah, it's because,
amongst other things.
It's because you also are watching some adult videos on your tablet. To my left is the producer, Mo Khan. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened last week and the teams to come before we get to an interview with one of the members of Smash Bros, which we'll get into in the second segment of the show. Of course, if you're watching, you know that we are in this particular cage where, if it's in the game, it's in the cage. Gentlemen, we're heading into the road show. That is when we basically get out there, we do a live play-by-play an analysis of the finals with a live presentation of the trophy and the MVP trophy to the winners as well as the championship t-shirts. It's really an extravaganza. Because it's the Division E podcast, I can't stress enough for teams to get out there, really see what it's like. It's the coolest thing. It's fun. Honestly, in our first season, we went 0-9-1, as we've talked about many times on this podcast, but we still went out to see the finals, and we had a great time. We had some Five Guys burgers who are not yet a sponsor of this show. What are you waiting for, Five Guys? Get on that. But this one will feature a game between the Looney Goons and Smash Bros. We have the Looney Goons, who are 7-1 since Matt Batalon took over at quarterback. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name properly.
Probably not.
But let's pretend like that's the real way to pronounce his name. They won an ugly game this past week against One Man Show. It was 7-6. But if anything, it shows that they can overcome some adversity. Smash Bros. Came into the game facing some adversity on their own end, as Jonah Cohen, a quarterback, is in London taking a work opportunity.
London, UK, right?
Yeah. London, UK, not London, Ontario, because no one leaves Montreal to go to London, Ontario.
I went to London, Ontario one time.
By choice? Or were you kidnapped?
For work.
For work? Or it's almost like being kidnapped.
I'm surprised you've been able to talk this long and not pass out.
I have a whole monologue. I'm glad you guys are interrupting.
I know, yeah.
I was preparing for...
we were waiting for you to breathe a little bit.
Yeah, no, never. But they faced adversity themselves, having lost their quarterback late in the season. Yet they took on Blood Machines, who were one of the most intriguing teams entering the playoffs, and they beat them in a battle of conference, essentially, winning the game 26-25. So, gentlemen, what are your thoughts about this game heading in? Don't give us your picks just yet, as we'll do that later, but what are your thoughts for this Division E final?
I thought Smash Bros. Scorekeeping their game on Sunday, they played a very gutty effort. I mean, they were down, they were on the ropes. Bashfast made a key INT that put them in position to go up by 1, end up winning the game here. They got big plays from their entire team at some point throughout the two halves, and when push came to shove, they were the team that was better that day, and they came out with a fantastic defensive stand to win that game.
These.
Well, I'm looking at this, and before we get into that, I want to kind of talk about like the last game of the regular season. I find it gave us a really interesting insight into both teams. You had a team in Blood Machines that. Not Blood Machine, sorry, Smash Bros. That eviscerated Jean-Guy. I believe the score was 40-0, 38. I don't know.
Didn't actually eviscerate them, for those worried at home.
And I find that if you look at the other picture with Looney Goons, I find that it was kind of an interesting result as well because they lost against Fuzzy Kittens, and it's kind of interesting. And I always get to this point whenever we cover the finals. I always like to look back at like what brought these teams there, and I always find that the final games kind of always show like what you did, what kind of team is gonna get there, right?
That's fair.
For Smash Bros, we saw a team that going into the playoffs, they were strong, very powerful. They ended the season on a very powerful note. Looney Goons, it was kind of probably they were probably at a point where at a juncture where they're like, we either got to improve or we're gonna fail.
Yeah.
So when I look at both teams right now in the finals, what I see is a team that's gone through everything. They've gone through adversity. They've gone through close games. They barely won the last game, and that's in Looney Goons. Whereas you see Smash Bros that basically we're used to kind of just throwing around our opposition left, right, and center throughout the season. But coming into the last game, into the semifinals, they kind of saw how much blood it takes to win against a great team.
Absolutely, and it's exactly right. We have the Smash Bros coming in as the 3 seed, but we've almost regarded them as a top seed.
And we've been talking about them as a top seed throughout the season.
They do so without their star quarterback. I've been questioned along the way because of that. They were an offensive powerhouse in the regular season. They take on the Looney Goons, who were just as hot as can be heading into the playoffs and have led with a Cinderella story thus far. When we get back, we'll talk to Aaron Owenby of Smash Bros about some of these topics. Welcome everyone. Of course, we're still here. You are listening to and perhaps watching Super Flag Bros. I am joined by one of the Smash Bros. Of course, I'm sure they did it for that reason, but it's quite a name, don't you think?
That's amazing.
Pairing the bros of Smash Bros. And Super Flag Bros. It was kind of meant to be that they would appear on this podcast.
This whole season's been just a tribute to the podcast.
That's what I figured.
Close to the microphone.
Close to the mic.
If not, absolutely awesome video game.
But like, how much Smash Bros did you play up until this game? Like, as soon as you lost the last game, you probably went home. You're like, okay, my girlfriend's been telling me I gotta put this away, but I'm gonna take it out.
We quit our jobs. We just
This is it. We're gonna live off the land.
practice video games. You know,
It's understandable.
Yeah,
That's really the only.
Because you're gonna get rich once you win,
yeah.
if you win.
yeah. I mean, I'm
some
gonna
reason.
be
We'll
eligible
pay
for
you.
next year's draft.
Yeah, obviously.
Why play Madden when you can play Smash Bros?
Exactly. It's the only way to prepare for an FPF game.
Exactly.
Aaron, you are a rookie and a snapper. I'm a snapper as well.
Yeah.
So I have a specific affinity for the position. This being your first season in FPF, have you learned to appreciate just how important that position is?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to mess up, and it's an underappreciated position. It's like
Yeah.
the kicker, right? I mean, nobody notices till he
Yeah,
misses
never.
that extra point. Nobody notices the snapper till he
Till he
throws it
misses
over
snap,
the
yeah.
quarterback's shoulder. And I did that a couple times my first game.
Do you get yelled at the most on anyone on your team?
I think I mean, nobody gets yelled at, but we've been playing so well that
Yeah.
there's no need to yell. You know, I mean,
It's true when you're winning.
When you're
there's less
winning,
yelling.
you know?
But I figure as a snapper, you're usually like the target.
the punching
you know?
bag.
Yeah, because you could snap right every time throughout the season. You miss one snap
Oh yeah.
over the quarterback's head into the end zone.
This is the
Yeah,
kind
guys
of stuff that
are
keeps me up at
Especially in a
night.
playoff game, Mr. Terry Tam.
Yeah. I've done that too. Don't worry about it. I've done that in my first ever playoff game. I snapped the safety. Talk about the team dynamic. Who are the leaders on your team? Who are the role players? And how do you fit in?
Well, the leaders are definitely, I would say, Jonah, who's actually in London, not Ontario.
Thank God.
So it's been different with him gone. Paul, Eddie. I mean, most of the guys who were on the Game Changers before, and then they started their own team. I would call them the leaders. And then we got a few first-year guys like me. We got me, James Legoff, Dylan Weiss. I don't say his last name.
No, that's
And, W. There you go.
DW.
Just said that before. But I mean, there's not been a real leader-follower dynamic. Just everybody sort of knows their role and and fills it.
That's fair.
So, Eagle told me to ask you a question, and I usually never listen to him, but he did bring up a good point.
All right.
So, playing with all these experienced players,
Yeah.
like playing with these guys that have a wealth of knowledge, it's your first season here. Like, what do you feel like? What do you feel you took away from them? Like, if you had to like kind of sum down the last 10 games, the last like the whole season, 10 games plus the last like 3 games that you played. If you were to take all that, put it all together into one ball of answers, but in like really short, one ball of answers. Like, what would it be? Like, what did you take away this season that you said I can take this into the next and
I mean, definitely
become a better
the first
athlete?
few games. The first few games were a bit tougher. I missed a step on my routes. I mean, I'd never played organized football. But from these guys, you sort of learn where you got to be.
So it's like accountability.
Yeah, I mean, you learn sort of where you need to be. How to own up to your own mistakes and how not to make them the next time. And I think the leaders on the team or the experienced guys on the team have done a good job of teaching that without shoving it down your throat too.
Of course.
If you miss an assignment, they let you know.
That's it.
They've played the game before. They're not there to hold your hand, but they're not there also to
How have you guys stayed competitive with the loss of quarterback Jonah Cohen, who's probably played the best of any first-time quarterback this league's ever seen, other than maybe Anton Saka as the game-changer's quarterback?
Yeah. Well, with Eddie at the helm, I mean, I feel like we really haven't missed a step. He doesn't have quite the same arm strength, but he's really patient. He waits for the right moment, and we just kept playing the same game. We run the same plays, the same routes. He might not he might not look as deep as Jonah does every play, but we really haven't had to change up too much. And as long as we keep winning, we won't change. I mean,
that's fair. That's fair. You won an emotional game last week.
Yeah.
Was it ever in doubt?
Actually, it was in doubt from the very beginning. I was running late from work, and I had the flags.
That's the answer you want to hear. You never get that, though. I like that.
So I had the flags, and I showed up at 6 o'clock on the dot. So that was.
Did you have to tell your boss I gotta leave? I can't do any more overtime.
It wasn't even that. I was helping somebody move tools from one job to another, and then
Right.
6 o'clock was coming around, and it was kind of like, well, I can't drop you off on the side of the highway, so.
And then he dropped him off on the side of the highway.
I can't believe it.
Anything for flag football, man.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was a tough game. But to be honest,
before that, instead of kicking him off the side, you should actually bring him with you as a spectator, because we need spectators at the game.
That's true. We were
Especially if she's attractive.
So you guys have a points for of 383, a points against of 207, which means on average you're winning by almost 3 scores a game. You look at the Looney Tunes team, and they have a total of 211 points against the entire season, so an average 20 points. You think your offense is going to be able to match their defense in this particular series, and then vice versa? They haven't scored a lot of points. You guys have a tight defense. Which side of the ball is going to win you this game?
I mean, I don't want to sound overconfident, but we haven't faced the defense yet that's really shut us down. We haven't. I don't think we put up less than 20-something points. I mean,
Pretty much.
24.
Statistician over here.
I know, seriously. I don't know what numbers he just gave. But
See, we can't do that because we just don't. And so that's why we keep playing Eagle.
Or a producer.
There we go.
I think what happened was we were gone for the last 2 weeks. And he's like, he finally got a chance to throw all the numbers out.
I heard him actually. Last couple of weeks, he was talking so much. They started treating you like real people. They should never do that.
Never. So your upcoming matchup, right? Like, what do you know about the Looney Tunes? Like, going into this matchup, like, what do you see about this team that you think?
To be honest, I haven't seen him play. I don't think any of us have seen him play. But like I'm saying, I don't want to sound too overconfident, but we haven't faced a defense that's been able to shut us down yet. And just looking at their past games against the one team from the other conference that we played, I think they tied them, and we shut them down.
I think it's time for a statement from Looney Tunes. Do you have a statement from them?
Actually, yeah, I'll go ahead. Well, why don't you go ahead, ask a question while I get the statement ready.
Okay. So awesome. All right. So getting into the season, right? Like it's your first season in the FPF.
Yeah.
How did you get drawn into the league?
My friend Eddie said, "Hey, do you wanna snap? You're gonna get a lot of passes."
Did you think at one time, like, dude, flag football? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like rollerblading for people that ride bikes.
I mean, I'd probably rather not get tackled for fun. So.
All right, that's a good answer.
That's why I play.
That's a great answer. Better than mine. I said, okay, flag,
But
sure.
I mean, shit, the guy from the other team tore his ACL, right? So it's still,
no.
We're still playing serious.
Don't ever think this is a safe game.
No.
We've all seen horrors that we can't speak of.
I was hurt for 3.5 months with a high ankle sprain, so believe me.
I tore my knee. I've hurt my shoulders. Yeah.
Your teammate broke his clavicle. An old reporter for the league as well. well.
But it's a safe league, I promise.
And you're relatively
we
young.
signed that
so-
waiver at the beginning of the year.
There we go. Legal problem.
And Mo Khan had a claw that he wore for one full season of a podcast. I don't know if anyone remember. Mo, I don't remember how you hurt your finger because you're a quarterback.
It was
Maybe it's the way you
an
throw the ball.
injury of a sexual nature. We have a message in from the Looney Goons. He starts by saying, "Hey, Mr. De La Rocca." So
Wow.
I like this guy because nobody calls me that. It is a Looney Goons rep, Mike Zanobi. Unfortunately, I am coaching football, and none of the boys are available tonight because they're out drinking.
Yeah.
But I have some fuel for your podcast. We have faith in our quarterback, Mike Batalon.
No, I don't know if that's that. I think you haven't spelled it properly.
Matt
pronounced properly.
Batalon. That's how he pronounced it in the text.
Yeah, okay.
The bottom line is we need to know the name for Sunday, right?
Yeah, we do.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah, we have time. If not, Mo Khan will correct
I
me.
thought it was Blanton.
No, Batalon. Blanton is an awesome. Is it Scotch? No,
Blunton?
it's not. Anyway, I'm too sick to figure this out.
I think.
He said, "We feel that anyone on our squad can get solid yaks, and our rusher Nick has improved every week and is underrated on both sides of the ball. With solid vets like De Silva and James Donald leading the boys on defense, we feel good. Jesse White and Tony Powell are underrated studs. He means on the football field and not actually in terms of breeding.
Yes.
We have nothing but respect for the Smash Bros, but look forward to what should be the game of the century." Big words, straight up smack talk right there.
Seriously, I don't know about you, man, but I'm a bit intimidated right now.
Yeah, I don't even want to be sitting here. Just a couple questions actually before we take a quick break so I can start to catch my breath.
Yeah.
You prepare for a finals game now missing another star, Paul Santash.
Yeah.
Do you think this will hurt you guys, or will it be the next step in a journey that has featured the next man up the whole way through?
I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Paul. I don't think it's not going to benefit us to be losing him. He won the receiver award, right?
Fair.
But we've got big players that can step up, and I think we're gonna.
But like
keep
you guys also had like 3 receivers with like 18 touchdowns.
Exactly. It's
So
not a one-man
so
show
of
here
all
either.
3 of them, like who would you be the most scared like to cover? If one
Probably not to take anything away from Paul. Paul, I think, runs great routes. He gets open. He's got great hands. But Vinny,
smack talk.
I mean, this guy's
He's
6
talking
foot-
smack.
He's got his own team.
This guy's 6'6". He jumps another 6'6".
He's pretty tall,
inches
yeah.
high, feet high, and
It's kind of nice to have a guy like that on your offense. Like
Absolutely.
just you don't even have to be an accurate quarterback.
We've never had a guy like that.
Don't you wish you had a guy that tall
Yes.
when you were playing quarterback?
Yeah. So, before we get to break,
yeah.
why will Smash Bros be the next Division E champions?
We're the next Division E champions because we've been running over the competition all year. We got a strong offense, and I don't think the Looney Goons can stop us on Sunday.
When we come back, we will drop the spotlight on the Looney Goons, and Diesel Reese has a statement from the Looney Goons as well. He's receiving it live as we speak.
Also, you didn't give my Twitter handle. I'm very angry
Yeah, I'll
about
do
that.
it. I'll do it after break.
Okay.
Break!
Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details.
Welcome back, everyone. That was once again the worst count to return to the podcast by the Eagle at Master Control. Of course, you can tweet him and tweet the show live by tweeting at EagleFPF. Of course, we don't expect to get that many tweets as we are in the annual press conferences on the road to the road show and the FPF finals. We are in the Sporteria cage, where if you haven't got your jerseys yet, they're probably in the cage. To my right, I am joined by Deez Delarice. You can be followed at Dave's Republic.
Right.
To my left, you have our producer, Mo Khan. You can be followed at MK19. Oh, no, sorry, at MoKhan19.
That's correct.
That's too long, and it's not a company to handle, so I'm not appreciating it as much. Eagle, you look very eager to say something.
I thought you changed your Twitter handle to @ I need to tie my shoes.
No, it's actually been changed to at Waffle House.
At Waffle House. And of course, we're still hanging with us for the rest of the show is the rep from the Smash Bros. Thank you, of course, for making time to come out, Aaron Owenby. So, just let's talk a little bit about Looney Goons before we get into making our picks, and of course, the very important announcement from Looney Goons.
Right.
After switching to Matt Batalon this has ignited their offense. What makes him so special as a quarterback?
I'm trying to understand the change in quarterback that they've had. It's been kind of a.
They had Brian Zanobi to start the season. They had Matt Zanobi splitting some reps with him.
But I feel like they've played a lot better with Bytalan.
Yeah.
I think it's Blanton.
Blanton?
It's not Blanton.
This is why we need a representative from that team here, by the way.
Seriously. To tell us how to pronounce your names for Sunday's broadcast.
Yeah.
I would call him Matt B.
Matty B. So what do you think makes him special?
Well, I don't know what makes him specifically special, but in this case, like, he's best of the three. I know that's super basic.
Wow.
No, but look, like it's tough to tell at this point because like they barely won last week. It's 7-6 game, and but I feel like they've always played with a little bit more of an edge with him at quarterback, and it's weird because. They had lost, like I said, they lost the final game against Fuzzy Kittens, and I felt like that may have been a reason. And I'm speaking completely not even knowing the actual story, but I feel like they lost that game at the final season, and for some reason it was a switch at the beginning of the playoffs, and he had to regain control of that offense, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing I'm trying to understand. But regardless, that's all in the past, and I'm glad that they're, and we don't know, they might go back to another quarterback next game.
So your answer for what makes him special is you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I don't know. What's your
answer to a question I did not ask
because
you?
you're automatically presuming he's special.
Well, yeah, because he's led the team to a 7-1 record since he's been the starter, and he's helped them turn around the season. To me, it shows characteristics of leadership.
Absolutely.
He's got a great arm. Throws a much more catchable ball than the other quarterbacks. Brian Zanobi and Matt Zanobi are veterans in this league, but they haven't played this position.
So hopefully they don't change quarterback in the final game.
No, they should not change
not change him.
They should not, no. Looney Goons beat No Name, Redman, and One Man Show, respectively, in the playoffs. Which of these results surprises you the most?
It has to be against No Name, going into the
first playoff game.
The first playoff game, too. And I find that it's such a tricky thing. The divisional round of the FPF finals, regardless of division, I find is always the trickiest. Like, it's really the round where I find that the best teams drop and sometimes the worst teams succeed. And I find that it's also where you find yourself. It's like you're at a point throughout the season it didn't matter. Your matches didn't matter. Who cares? You win, you lose. If you're a team that's average, but once you get to the playoffs, you can see a different demon because they know that there's kind of an inevitability. If they don't win, then they're out completely, and then that's the end of the season. But that being said, like I think that the fact that they've kind of gone in as the underdog could definitely feed their momentum going forward. That's not to take away anything from Smash Bros. Smash Bros. Played amazing the whole season. I know that you guys are the favorite, but I don't know. Like I feel like there's this Cinderella story that's been happening, and I'm a big fan of the Oakland Raiders. So is Mo Khan. We love Cinderella stories.
That being said,
unfortunately, yeah,
You lost me.
I love it.
The Raiders would be the ugliest Cinderella. No one would take them to the ball.
No one.
That's like Cinderella's ugly sister from Jersey.
Right.
And to be fair, the Cinderella team never wins the championship. Mo Khan, do you think this would be a different opportunity? Do you think
you're saying they've never won? Is Cinderella team's never won? Like a low seed?
I've seen Smash Bros. A few times now. They've been by far the most impressive Div E team I've seen up till now, and I've scored up a couple of games here and there, including Looney Goons, who played way back in week 2, week 3, which did not impress me with what they had at the time. But look, for what they've gone through with the rotation of players, guys who step up, especially last week against Blood Machines, where again they were down, shows up literally a minute into the game, whatever it was. They overcame so much adversity to win that game. At the end of the day, I still think this is the team to beat, and they will be the team to beat.
I get that, Mo, but at the same time, we can't take away too much from Looney Goons as well. Like I feel like they're here for a reason. Like they've gone through their adversity as well.
You're absolutely right, but look at what these guys have to go through. You're right. No, there's no question.
Come on,
right?
it's not like they were playing
from our adversity. We lost our quarterback.
Yeah.
Now we lose.
I'm trying to defend the defenseless over here, by the way. I'm trying to play the devil's advocate. They're not here to represent themselves. I wish they were.
They're essentially on their backup quarterback or Smash Bros.
Yeah,
just like Looney Goons, right? But look what they had to go through, though. They were on the cusp of losing that game inside 5 minutes of the second half until Bass Trash made that big INT that put them in position to score and ended up winning the game by 1.
I get that, but both teams lost by 1 point. I think that I'm just saying, let's not put too much into the score of games. I think
Oh,
that
I will.
both teams. You do. I know you will. You always will. But I'm saying that both teams. For sure, like, hey, look, we're on vacation. There's only so much insight we can give into both games. But I feel like both teams are there for a reason. They both spilled a lot of blood to get there.
Quick question here, guys. You think Looney Goons can win 7-6 in the finals?
Because there's no one
Not
here.
in the finals.
Exactly.
But they've played a lot of games where the score wasn't 7-6.
I'm just saying.
You are just saying.
But you know what? The playoffs are a crazy thing. So I'm just saying, like, we need to give Looney Goons a little bit of respect for where they're at.
Is Looney Goons Matt Da Silva the best receiver in this game? He has 5 playoff TDs.
Yeah,
so
definitely. And I find what's interesting is that it's a lot of experience coming from Grip and Rip. Like, he's had a lot of experience in the league, and it wasn't specifically Grip and Rip. I think him and Donald have played for multiple teams throughout FPF career. So,
Well, that leads me to the next question. Mo, maybe you
Yeah.
can provide some insight.
Yes.
Who do you think is a bigger deal, preparing for Da Silva on offense or Steven Donald on defense?
Wait! I didn't finish. You asked me a question first. You asked me who is their best receiver.
It was a nice transition.
It was a nice transition because I never answered. And to answer your question, yes.
Well, to follow up with an answer.
Thank you.
If Smash Bros. Stop Da Silva, contain him. That means he's held to say 2 catches for 30 yards. I think the percentage goes in favor of Smash Bros. To win this football game. Now the question is, what will they do for defense? They play a very good defense, especially against the red zone. So they might eliminate a couple of guys and limit the options for whoever's quarterbacking for Looney Goons this weekend.
For sure. Deez. So, as you've been defending the defenses, before you get to your statement, of course, just develop a game plan for Looney Goons. How will they beat Smash Bros?
Don't let them score 40 points.
Awesome.
But I'm also gonna say, get some proper jerseys because I don't think you have any jerseys yet.
Which, if you haven't got them, of course, you can order them on at Sportira for next season. This is the time of the week where
I'm not finished. God damn!
you set it up, and then what do you want me to do?
So impatient.
You set it up.
So impatient. I think also that if you want to beat Smash Bros, I just think like there is a lot of hype. There's a lot of talent. But that being said, like I don't know. I think that there's a lot that they've learned in the playoffs. They fought a lot of tough battles. So it's like really about taking remembering how they got there in a sense, like, and not coming out flat, you know. And I always say, like, before a game, don't get wasted.
That's true. Very, very good advice.
Don't get wasted. And get a lot of sleep. And also go for a light jog in the morning. Have some Cheerios. You're gonna be good to beat the Smash Bros.
Cheerios, don't let 40 points. Don't get drunk the night before. This is the time of week where we let you get into your rant. So this is the entirely fictitious, if not made up, statement from Looney Goons.
The word waffle first appeared in the English language in 1725. Waffles take flour and cream, Mokan. It is directly delivered from the Dutch waffle. It itself derives from the Middle Dutch waffle, entroni.
Strong words from Looney Goons.
Because I don't
Strong
play
words.
for them, I can't give them a statement, so I just read the definition of a waffle, or at least where it comes from.
To be fair, waffles are awesome.
I know that this place is far, and I know they had a lot of plans. I don't want to take away too much of them. I don't want to go on a rant about, oh, you should be here, this and that. But I know that no man cannot not like a waffle.
That's true.
And
Especially when paired with fried chicken.
I personally like to put like 2 slices of bacon on it and just a little drizzle of some maple syrup and a little bit of
You're out of your
sugar on
mind.
top.
You're out of your mind. It is fried chicken, waffles, and honey. That's the only way to have them. MK, what's your pick for this week?
Smash Bros.
Bye.
Double-digit points.
Your pick, D's
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm gonna have to go for a really close game. In the end, I'm going to say Smash Bros are going to win. I'm sorry to Looney Goons, but unfortunately, I don't know. Like I feel like this is just a better this is just too good a matchup for Smash Bros. But if they do win, I will bring also a whole bunch of waffles.
Yeah, I would imagine. This is the part of the show where typically I would disagree with my co-host, regardless of what I actually thought, because it's more interesting when we disagree. But I will say this time, particularly because they did not show up for the podcast, I will say that I'm going to go ahead and pick Smash Bros. Just because, Aaron, you should take your time to show up here, and also you've been the most dominant team all season long. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Smash Bros. As well. But as for the Looney Goons, do feel free to use this as your bulletin board material. Get ready, boys. It's going to be a big game, big scene. And remember, goodbye.
Can I change my pick to?
I just signed up.
Can I change my pick?
Done. It's over.
No.
Goodbye.
No. Just broke the mic.